Part 69. The Country Life of a Rich Dad. Author, Wo Shihami Gua. Chapter 681. Kunpeng Jianyi. This is a well-known domestic construction industry group, and its performance is also very impressive. Of course, Kunpeng Jianyi's strength is also very good, with total assets of almost 90 billion, close to 100 billion. And several Jianyi companies with comparable strength are now in this village. There is no way, the investment in this project was too large at the beginning. It is so large that even they can't ignore it. As long as this big pie is eaten, even if it is not started in the next few years, it is completely enough. At this time, the person in charge of Kunpeng Jianyi's station is Yang Jiankan, the vice president of Kunpeng Jianyi and the main person in charge of Kunpeng Jianyi. Yang Jiankan has seen too many people of all kinds, and has experienced too many events of all sizes to count. People like him are also very courageous. It can be said that not many things can scare him. The environment of Kunpeng Jianyi's station is still very luxurious. Not only that, a large amount of land is occupied. Because it is to help the village do things, the villagers can't say anything. However, when all the Jianyi groups began to follow suit, even destroying the crops that had already grown, the villagers could not stand it. Zonglin Jianyi and Pixio Jianyi are the two major groups that are second only to Kunpeng Jianyi in strength. Their leadership also made many Jianyi groups completely worry-free. When everyone has the same idea, the people in charge of these projects will naturally be unable to be called upon. What's more, they are all old hands. Yang Jiankan of Kunpeng Jianyi, Lin Along of Zonglin Jianyi, and Yukiwei of Pixio Jianyi are all here now. In addition to them, there are more than a dozen people from Jianyi group, big and small, all gathered together. The air conditioner is turned on here, and the electricity used is all from the village. They don't plan to spend a penny. Here, there is a super big table, and the fresh vegetables picked directly from the villagers' fields are placed on the table. And all the chickens, ducks, and geese are also taken directly from the villagers. There was no such thing as paying at all. At this moment, Huang Fuchong, the CEO of Wangcheng Jianyi, who was sitting downstream, couldn't help but say, "I heard that Gu Qingfeng of Gu Group has committed suicide by jumping off the building. Does this mean that he failed in the fight with Li Chen?" Huang Fuchong is a cautious person and usually doesn't do anything too much. "What? Huang Fuchong, Li Chen came back to settle accounts with you," Yukiwei of Pixio Jianyi couldn't help laughing. Being ridiculed by a woman like this, even if he was really worried, he didn't want to lose face. "Why should I be afraid of him?" Huang Fuchong shook his head, but in fact, there were many people who had the same idea as him. Gu Qingfeng's business empire is also ruthless, but it can beat everyone present. Not everyone is as strong and tough as you three Jianyi groups. Yukiwei sneered, picked up a piece of vegetable with chopsticks and said, "Don't worry, now Li Chen and Gu Qingfeng are both defeated. To put it bluntly, even if Li Chen wins, it is a miserable victory." He was suppressed by Gu Qingfeng before and couldn't raise his head, which proves that Li Chen is not omnipotent. Now that Gu's has collapsed, Li's and Zhao's are regrouping. It will take some time to return to the peak. Yang Jiankan and Lin Along both nodded in agreement. "What's more, we have taken over his project. If he really fails miserably, how can we get the subsequent balance?" Yukiwei smiled and said, "So, we hope Li Chen will get up more than anyone else. It's just." Speaking of this, Yukiwei smiled meaningfully and said, "Next, the host and guest relationship will be reversed." Everyone laughed when they heard it. Even if it was Li Chen's peak, they had nothing to fear. "But we agreed to complete the project within the specified time." Huang Fuchong frowned slightly, his intuition told him that Li Chen was really not easy to mess with. Moreover, it was such a big project. They had finally won it. If Li Chen really took some extreme measures, everyone might not be able to bear it. Huangfu Chong, do you know why your royal city Jianyi is always only at the middle and lower levels? Lin Along of Zonglin Jianyi joked. You peaked when you debuted, but you were too cautious and hesitant. You gave up many opportunities because of excessive caution, so we were able to leave you far behind. It is a very common thing that the construction group cannot complete the project on time and regularly. As an old man in this industry, don't you know it? Yes, this is an unwritten rule. All Jianyi groups are almost like this. After completely taking it, they will habitually procrastinate. It's not that they want to do so, but the general environment is like this. Of course, now they find that this village is pretty good, with good mountains, water, and food. More importantly, all the expenses now come from Ljia village. There is almost no other place like this. Huangfu Chong had no way to refute, they were telling the truth. However, he was not worried about these, not to mention others, just his own imperial city Jianyi. Now everyone sees that Kunpeng Jianyi and others are taking advantage of their positions to quietly amass money. Although it is not much now, when everyone does this, the money will soon be insufficient. Once Li Chen finds out, it will be a big deal. Not to mention, they are here, it is considered robbery, not to mention the exploitation of other workers. After all, everyone has a background and is not afraid of trouble. But the problem is that everyone even beat up the old village chief and was admitted to the hospital. If Li Chen knew about this, he would not give up easily. Huangfu Chong, if you are afraid, then you can quit now. Yang Jiankan of Kunpeng Jianyi said lightly, you Huangcheng Jianyi can continue to work honestly. I want to see if there will be resentment among so many people under you. Huangfu Chong's face was ugly. When everyone was slacking off, Huangfu Chong asked the workers to work, which would definitely give rise to great resentment. Maybe at that time, they would just quit and not follow him to work, so he would really become a commander without troops. Huangfu Chong is now under the knife, whether he is willing or not, it is up to him. Even if he is not willing, he will be forced to join by the situation. Huangfu Chong sighed, and the uneasiness in his heart became stronger. This trick worked for anyone in the past, but it might not work for Li Chen. Come on, let's drink, let's not think about these unhappy things. Seeing that Huangfu Chong could only passively compromise, Yang Jiankan took the initiative to raise his glass and said with a smile, everyone drink one first. Now we are all in the same camp, and we are all in the same life and death. Now, the people of our major Jianyi group add up to nearly 12,000. Does Li Chen dare to touch us? If he touches us, so many workers will not agree. It's not that I look down on him. No one can do anything in the face of public opinion. Li Chen, it's not okay. Really? Today I know that I can't do it. The Country Life of a Rich Dad. Author, Wo Shihami Gua. Chapter 682. In the luxurious air-conditioned building shed, the dozen or 20 people sitting together were stunned. Yang Jiankan narrowed his eyes slightly, looking at the uninvited young man, a little absent-minded. Perhaps he didn't expect Li Chen to come back, or maybe he didn't expect Li Chen to dare to come. The people standing behind Li Chen were all village representatives who had negotiated with them before, and one of them had his hand broken by someone he asked. He thought these people wouldn't jump out, but it seemed that he guessed wrong. Lin Along, Yukiwei, and others were not panicked at all. It was just heard. Li Chen walked in with a smile on his face, and no one in the room wanted to get up. Looking at the sumptuous lunch here, Li Chen raised his eyebrows and said, "Is it so good to eat?" "Mr. Li, why don't you sit down and eat together?" Yukiwei smiled, with a bright smile on her face. Even though she was in her 30s and approaching 40, she was still well maintained at the construction site. Her charm is not weak at all. She can control young and old people. Li Chen looked at Yukiwei's charming face and said, "Mr. Yu, You are too polite. He waved his finger outside. Yukiwei and others' faces changed slightly, but they were still calm. Standing at the door were the old farmers in the village. I heard that there are thieves in our village. They not only steal vegetables from our village, but also steal chickens, ducks, and geese from our village. Li Chen smiled and said, I wonder if you have heard of it. Mr. Li is joking. We really haven't, Yukiwei shook her head. Li Chen smiled and nodded, then asked the villagers behind him to come in and said, Old man, you said that someone took your chickens away by force before. Who is this person? Lin Aolong, who was sitting on the main seat, changed his face slightly and stared at the old man with sharp eyes. The old man saw that the villagers behind him were all looking at him, and then he looked at Lin Aolong, then pointed at Lin Aolong and said, It's him. The old man's eyes were red as he said, This is what I prepared for my grandson to eat. He took people away without explanation. I argued with him, and he had people beat me up. The old man lifted up his clothes, and he could see the red and purple marks of Yaezai and his son on his back. Old man, you can eat whatever you want, but you can't say whatever you want, Lin Aolong said without changing his expression. If you slander me like this, I can go to court to sue you. There is no surveillance in the village, and how can they see the surveillance at the construction site? In addition, the elderly in the village don't understand these things, and they are often easily fooled. I'm not talking nonsense. The old man's eyes were red, looking at Li Chen. Li Chen indicated that he knew, and then said to the people behind him, Who else lost something? We lost a duck. They used our electricity, and now the electricity bill is over 100 a day. Those vegetables are also ours. If they asked for them, we would definitely give them, but they didn't even say thank you, they just took them away, and destroyed my vegetable garden. The villagers became more and more excited and angry. They wanted to make trouble before, but even the old village chief was beaten into the hospital, and Zhou Zhang had a hand broken. Who dared to say anything? They knew that Li Chen was a protective person, and they also knew that Li Chen's methods were extraordinary, so they dared to come here with courage. After hearing these words, Li Chen signaled them to watch from the side, and his eyes fell on Yang Jianquan, the vice president of Kunpeng Jianyi, in the middle. Mr. Yang. Mr. Li is polite, just call me Jianquan. Yang Jianquan smiled, without any arrogance. You just heard it? Don't you plan to give us villagers an explanation for this matter? Li Chen asked politely. Yang Jianquan heard this and said with a look of understanding, I don't know what Mr. Li means. I really don't know about this matter. Besides, we are all people with high net worth. How can we covet this little advantage? Maybe they got less reward, so they deliberately said this, just want you to help them out, so that they can get more money. Zhou Zhang, Li Jianhua, and others blushed when they heard this. They had never seen such a shameless group of people. They were simply hateful to the extreme. The villagers were originally dumb and simple. How could they have experienced such a scene? For a while, they were angry and anxious, and they couldn't speak at all. Yang Jianquan smiled bitterly and said, In this way, we will give another 500 yuan, which is enough to buy these vegetables. How about it? The group of people showed a regretful attitude, as if they had tacitly accepted this big loss. Seeing this, Li Chen walked towards Yang Jianquan, and people inside and outside the house couldn't help but get nervous. At this time, a lot of workers had gathered around the greenhouse. These were their staff, staring at the villagers of Ljia village with ferocious eyes. Dozens or even hundreds of people quickly gathered around, and the momentum was very scary. Yang Jianquan sat firmly on the diaotai, not panicking at all. Li Chen walked behind his chair and leaned over slightly and said, Mr. Yang means that the people in our village are all blackening you. It depends on how Mr. Li looks at it, Yang Jianquan said calmly. Oh, Li Chen's tone was playful, his face suddenly sank, and he grabbed the back of Yang Jianken's head with one hand and pressed it against the table. Bang! The tabletop was shaking, and the dishes jumped up. Let him go. Boy, do you want to die? If you dare to touch our CEO Yang, I will kill you in a minute. The sudden change was unexpected by everyone. Even Zhou Zhang and others were shocked and called Li Chen fierce. Li Chen looked at the shocked people at the table with a playful look, and grabbed Yang Jianken's head, which was full of nosebleed, and said, CEO Yang, how do you feel? Even though Yang Jianken was already immune to all poisons and didn't care about any provocation, it was the first time for someone to hit his head in public. His nose was bleeding, and his face was covered with oil stains. He looked at Li Chen with a sinister look, and said in a grim tone, Li Chen, are you looking for? Bang! Li Chen pressed his head heavily on the table, and the whole table was shaking, and the dishes on the table were shaken out. Yang Jianken couldn't bear it anymore and screamed. The nose is the most vulnerable part. Although the first blow didn't break the bone, it was still painful. He could still bear it. But the second blow really broke the bone. The pain made him cry and bleed. Yang Jianken was filled with murderous intent. He had never wanted to kill someone as much as he did today. The workers who gathered around picked up their weapons, all of them showing ferocious intent. Zhou Zhang and his gangsters also drew out their true and false words, and said fiercely, who dares to take a step forward? Let's see whether it's you or us who fall down. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Country Life of a Rich Dad. Author, Wo Shihami Gua. Chapter 683. Because of the noise here, more and more people are gathering here now. This is the construction site, and it is close to the neighborhood committee. When everyone gathered here, the villagers also came. Especially when they saw that both sides actually took out real weapons, everyone inevitably noticed this place. What's going on? It feels like a fight is about to start. What else can it be? These bastards have never stopped since they came here. I heard that Li Chen is back. Li Chen is back. Then we have to go up to help. Can the people in our village be bullied by outsiders? The villagers were a little discouraged, but when they heard that Li Chen was back, they immediately became energetic. One by one, they picked up weapons and rushed here. The villagers of Ljia village were already very aggrieved and had been bullied badly during this period. Zhou Zhang, who had been a scourge to the village, began to stand up to protect everyone. But what was the result? Zhou Zhang, the most powerful in the eyes of the villagers, had one hand broken. Who dared to ask for justice? But Li Chen is different. It is all thanks to Li Chen that Ljia village is what it is today. The negative impact brought by the Li family in the early stage was eliminated by Li Chen, and everyone lived a good life. So, when the whole village heard about what happened here, they all came here. Those construction groups that were originally preparing to rest also began to come here. After all, the handling of this matter directly affects everyone. Zhou Zhang and others saw more and more villagers, and they became more and more confident. However, when the personnel from other construction sites also came over, the sense of oppression was very strong. Not all construction groups are so disgusting, but they are in the same line after all. In the greenhouse, everyone can clearly see Li Chen's movements. Especially when Li Chen pressed Yang Jianken on the table, everyone felt that a lot of bad air in their chests was vomited out. The most damnable thing is this bad guy, who beat the old village chief into the hospital. Bad to the point of pus. Li Chen lifted Yang Jianken's head again, and said to the CEOs who had completely changed color, I, Li Chen, spoke to you in a nice way and reasoned with you, but you just didn't like to listen. Do you think the people in Ljia village are easy to bully, or do you think I, Li Chen, are easy to bully? Or, Do you think I, Li Chen, am finished? Li Chen, do you know what you are doing? Lin A Along roared. Pa! Li Chen raised his left hand and pressed Lin A Along's head. With a clang, Lin A Along also screamed. You stole a chicken, and you dare to ask me back. Who gave you the courage? Clang. 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 There was complete silence all around. Only the sound of Li Chen pressing Lin A Along hard against the table, and Lin A Along screamed. At this moment, the CEOs of many construction groups present could no longer bear it. Bang! Yukiwei slapped the table and said, Li Chen, your behavior will bring discredit to your Jia village. You are using violence to solve the problem. Pa! Li Chen let go of Lin A Along and slapped Yukiwei in the face with his backhand. A slap mark suddenly appeared on this face that already bore the traces of time. Yukiwei fell on her back and was stunned by the pain. How dare this man in front of her be so vulgar? Yukiwei was going crazy. She had never been treated like this by a man before. She was so angry that she roared wildly, Come on, take him down for me. Yukiwei covered her swollen cheeks and stared at Li Chen with a stern and resentful look, saying, I want him to die, and I want him to live a life worse than death. When the workers of Pixio Jianyi heard Yukiwei's voice, they rushed in without saying a word. Who dares? Li Jianhua, Li Peng, Zhou Zhang, and others roared. Let them in. Li Chen spoke slowly, his voice cold. Zhou Zhang and others hesitated, but still let them out. There were quite a few people in Pixio Jianyi, about 600 or 700 people. When they really stood together, it was a dark mass, and it was creepy to look at. Li Chen stared at the group of people with tendons all over their bodies and said, You want to help your general manager, you, right? Li Chen, although we are here to work for you, we also have dignity. You beat people without knowing right or wrong. Do we have to endure it? The foreman in charge roared. Without knowing right or wrong, Li Chen smiled and pointed at the foreman and said, During the time I was away, how many evil things did you guys do in our village? Do you want me to tell you one by one? Everyone's face changed. Li Chen stepped forward, his tone grim, You are a bad guy, and you dare to complain here first. Do you really think that Milgia village is a place where you can run wild at will? Boom! Li Chen took a step forward, and the pressure of the heaven realm suddenly pressed down like a mountain. The foreman in the lead was horrified. They didn't even have time to make a sound before they felt as if a huge rock weighing tens of millions of pounds fell on their heads. Everyone was so scared that their faces turned pale and their bodies bent down involuntarily. Some people couldn't stand it anymore and knelt down first. One kneeled, and everyone knelt. They were all ordinary people and had never seen such a world. At this moment, the panic in their hearts was infinitely magnified. Bang bang bang. Whether it was the major construction groups that came later or the villagers who came, they all saw this extremely strange scene. Every strong man had beads of sweat on his body, and they were pale and painful. They slowly bent down and finally knelt on the ground. They even had to support themselves with their hands, just like they were kowtowing. Yukiwei was completely dazed. Looking at Li Chen's back, she began to doubt for the first time whether she had done something wrong. Don't you have a clear conscience? Li Chen said coldly, Today I will see who is really clear in conscience. Anyone who exposes that one of you has done something bad in our Lgia village will be spared from this pain. Otherwise, we will waste time here and see who is the toughest. As soon as these words came out, the faces of the 500 or 600 people kneeling on the ground changed. There are always more timid and cautious people in the crowd. They will not support or participate in many things. And these people are also the most afraid of being implicated. I said, Yu Yongui did something bad. He and Mr. Yu occupied a villager's house and took away the ginseng wine that they had treasured for a long time. Someone began to be unable to bear it. Oh! Then stand up and point out this person to me, Li Chen said slowly. The pressure on the man was relieved, and his face became extremely complicated. Don't like it? Then you continue to be punished. Li Chen's voice turned cold. It's him. The man immediately pointed at the foreman and said. Yu Yonghui, Yu Kewei's distant relative, relied on Yu Kewei's status and did a lot of bad things. Anything else? Li Chen glanced over with a playful look, increasing the pressure. The Country Life of a Rich Dad. Author, Wo Shihami Gua. Chapter 684. And Wang Xianglin. And Wu Xiaohong. And Zhou Yiwei. If there is one, there will be another. Moreover, as Li Chen's pressure is gradually released, how can this group of people who don't have much ability to resist pressure withstand it? The heavy pressure pressed on them, making them kneel on the hot ground, as if they were roasted by fire. After all, there are still a large number of people in the crowd who did not participate. And those who were identified were almost pressed to the ground. Beads of sweat dripped down like they were free. The ground was scalding and the temperature was distorted, making them more and more uncomfortable. The rest of the people from Jianyi Company were originally going to come over to get involved, but when they saw this extremely creepy scene, they immediately stopped the idea. They were just working for the company here, not working for their lives. Some people couldn't stand it anymore and fell to the ground completely. They thought they would feel better if they didn't resist. But they forgot that the ground at more than 30 degrees was extremely hot. It was okay to touch it for a while, but after a while, it really felt like grilling meat. What's more, the huge pressure accompanying them did not disappear. The huge pressure pressed on their spines and chests, making them feel as if they were suffocating. Save me! Save me! It hurts so much. The shrill screams came from the mouths of these burly men. The more miserable they screamed, the more painful it was, the more people around them dared not approach. They were all ordinary people, how could they have experienced such a scene? The scene in front of them had long exceeded their cognition. The unknown is always infinitely terrifying. Li Chen ignored the screams of these people, and turned to continue looking at Yu Kewei and said, Mr. Yu, Mr. Yang, and Mr. Lin, you may as well use whatever means you have. Don't blame me, Li, for not giving you a chance. If you miss it this time, you will never have another chance. Li Chen dragged a chair and sat at the door. Behind him were hundreds of people, wailing on the ground as if they were being roasted by fire. In front of him were more than a dozen vice presidents or CEOs of construction companies, all of whom were under great pressure from being stared at by Li Chen. Yang Jiankan covered his nose, but he couldn't stop the blood from flowing. He stared at Li Chen with a sinister look and said, You have guts? At this moment, his face was completely gone. If he lost his place, he would never make it in his life. When Yang Jiankan picked up his phone, the others also picked up their phones. At this moment, only by bringing out the people behind him could the deterrent effect be achieved. They didn't believe that Li Chen could do whatever he wanted and be unscrupulous. While Yang Jiankan was making a phone call, Li Chen seemed to be leisurely, picked up his phone, and started playing with it out of boredom. Brother, it's me, I'm in Jia village. Yang Jiankan looked at Li Chen with resentment while making a phone call. I'm in trouble here. Hello, it's me. The others were making phone calls. Li Chen looked at them with a playful look. What? Yang Jiankan's face suddenly changed, and he looked at Li Chen in horror. Brother, what did you say? I said, now, immediately admit your mistakes and apologize to Mr. Li. Whatever he says is what it is. Yang Jiangan's roar came from the phone. You bastard, you even dare to provoke him, are you looking for death? Yang Jiankan was confused. What happened to his brother? Why did the brother who was fearless before suddenly become so crazy? Yang Jiankan is not a fool, but a scumbag. He must have something extraordinary to be sent out to take over this job. What's more, it's such a big order. Brother. Shut up, Yang Jiangan said coldly, this matter must be handled well, even if the others are slacking off, you are not allowed to slack off. Beep beep beep. The voice coming from the phone made Yang Jiangan feel a little unreal. Yang Jiangan put down the phone with some mixed feelings. The tone of his brother was very wrong, as if he had encountered something extremely terrifying. Also, he seemed to be very afraid of the name Li Chen. What did Li Chen do? Yang Jiangan looked at the others and found that their faces changed when they called. Zhou Zhang, Li Jianhua, Li Peng, Li Zixin, Li Feichen, Li Chengwang and others were all sweating with nervousness. These people from Jianyi Company all have very complicated backgrounds. If they really want to make trouble, Li Chen may not be able to withstand it. They know that Li Chen has some skills and some connections. But in their inherent impression, Li Chen is not strong enough to compete with these people. What's more, these people who run companies are not idiots. Once they really tear their faces apart, it will definitely be a fight to the death. Li Chen, can you withstand it? However, they immediately felt a little strange because something was wrong. The group bosses who were originally aggressive and wanted to tear Li Chen apart suddenly seemed to be a little bit calm. This made Zhou Zhang and others stunned. Li Chen watched as a group of people put down their phones one after another, and then looked at him awkwardly. Have you finished the call? Li Chen took out a nail clipper, rubbed his fingers and said, come on, use whatever tricks you have. A group of people looked at Yang Jiangan, Lin Aolong, and Yuke Wei. Yang Jiangan and the other two looked at each other, feeling bitter. This time, they were really going to be screwed. Mr. Li, Yang Jiangan and the other two led everyone forward, forcing a smile on their faces, and with their noses broken, they looked extremely ugly. Hiss. The villagers standing around were all a little confused. Just now, this guy looked like he wanted to skin Li Chen alive, but when he turned around, he showed a flattering smile, which made everyone uncomfortable. What's going on? I don't know. Didn't you say you wanted to kill Li Chen? It doesn't look like that. The old men and women in the village immediately started to grumble. The corners of Yang Jiangan's mouth twitched slightly. We also wanted to kill Li Chen, but something seemed to have happened at the headquarters. Li Chen's smile was even more sarcastic. Just now, I remember Mr. Yang, Mr. Lin, and Mr. Yu, you all wanted to kill me. Hearing Li Chen's sarcastic words, Yang Jiangan and the other two did not dare to get angry. They were a little confused about the situation, but the explanation on the other end of the phone was crystal clear. Li Chen saw that no one said anything, so he said, since you can't kill me, or don't dare to kill me, then I will kill you. Yang Jiangan, Lin Aolong, and Yuke Wei's faces all changed. Li Chen stood up slowly. I said at the beginning of the bidding that this project is extraordinary and extraordinary. All those who won the bidding documents have signed a letter of commitment. Everyone, you don't think that I, Li Chen, am joking. According to my time schedule, you have been delayed for at least half a month. I spent so much money, not to let you enjoy it. According to the amount of compensation promised, my daily investment is at least 1 million, and the compensation is 5 times, which is 5 million a day, and 15 days is 75 million in compensation. Everyone, please settle. The Country Life of a Rich Dad. Author, Wo Shihami Gua. Chapter 685. 75 million in compensation. Yang Jiangan, Lin Aolong, Yuke Wei, and others all turned green. This is 75 million, not 750,000. If they can get so much money at once, do they still need to be so humble? Mr. Li, Yang Jiangan's heart was trembling, we are not slowing down our work. Snapped. Li Chen slapped Yang Jiangan up from the air, and Yang Jiangan's body hit the table with a clang, and soup, water, and vegetables splashed everywhere. The other Jianyi bosses were even more silent, looking at Li Chen with fear in their eyes. Yang Jianquan opened his mouth and spit out a mouthful of blood, looking at Li Chen angrily. What? Not convinced, Li Chen looked at Yang Jianquan provocatively. If you dare to attack me today, I will respect you as a man. Yang Jianquan's expression suddenly changed, and his fists were clenched tightly. Seeing that Yang Jianquan didn't take action, Li Chen's eyes flashed with disappointment. Come here, Li Chen said calmly. Yang Jianquan took a deep breath and walked obediently in front of Li Chen. Brother Li Kongfengfeng is here. From the crowd behind, a figure walked out. It was the son of the old village chief. Li Chen pointed at Li Kongfeng and said, "This is our village chief's son. Now our village chief is admitted to the hospital. Do you know what to do?" Feeling a great pressure, Yang Jianquan suppressed his anger and said, "I will pay all the expenses and give the village chief and his family a subsidy of 500,000 yuan. Bang! Before Yang Jianquan could finish speaking, Li Chen kicked him out. Yang Jianquan flew upside down 3 to 4 meters away and landed hard on the ground. At this moment, whether it was the Jianyi bosses, the construction site workers, or the villagers, they were all shocked by Li Chen's ferocity. Yang Jianquan covered his chest and spat out a mouthful of blood in discomfort. His face suddenly turned red. Climb over here. Li Chen looked at Yang Jianquan with cold eyes. There was silence all around, and the construction workers and the boss felt extremely aggrieved. However, Yang Jianquan still obeyed and crawled in front of Li Chen like a dead dog. I'll give you one last chance. Think carefully before you speak. Li Chen looked into Yang Jianquan's eyes and said. Yang Jianquan took a deep breath, endured the severe pain and said, "I will compensate the village chief 1 million. After finishing speaking, Yang Jianquan seemed to be making a decision, and finally kowtowed. "I'm sorry, it was me who admitted the village chief to the hospital. It was my fault. Please forgive me, Mr. Li." The villagers outside were immediately in an uproar. They all know how arrogant these people are these days. Almost everyone has eyes on the top of their head, and they take things from the village at will without ever paying or saying thank you. But now he's kneeling down and apologizing? Li Kongfeng's eyes turned red all of a sudden. He thought that his father would have to suffer the consequences. But I didn't expect that the first thing Li Chen did after coming back was to seek justice. Li Chen looked at Li Kongfeng and said, "If Brother Feng is unwilling to forgive, you can take action and break his hand. I will be responsible." Hearing this, Li Kongfeng, Yang Jianquan and others were shocked. Li Kongfeng waved his hands repeatedly and said, "No, no, no. I just hope that Mr. Yang will not do this kind of bullying in the future." There is another point that Li Kongfeng didn't say. Once the boss's hand is really disabled, there will really be no room for maneuver in the future. Li Chen's project is so big. Although it can be retendered, many things will have to be done again. More importantly, he didn't want to delay Li Chen's affairs. Yang Jianquan said bitterly, "Not anymore." Li Kongfeng retreated, and Li Chen said again, "Zhou Zhang, who broke your hand?" "Them," Zhou Zhang pointed at Lin Along and Yu Yongui. It's not me, it's not me." Lin Along was frightened when he saw this, and said, "I'll give you money, 500,000, no, 1 million. Li Chen looked at Zhou Zhang and said, "Whether you break one of his hands or ask for 1 million, you decide for yourself." The surrounding villagers were shocked. Can it still be handled this way? Lin Along looked horrified. He didn't want to have his arm broken. "Can I give you another 100,000, Lin Along said. "Bah," Zhou Zhang said fiercely, "who cares about your dirty money?" As he said this, he picked up the shovel on the side, and Lin Along was so frightened that his face turned green. Zhou Jiang's younger brother immediately stepped forward and held Lin Along down. Lin Along was so frightened that he screamed and begged for mercy. Zhou Jiang raised his shovel and smashed it down. The tragedy that Lin Along imagined did not happen. He opened his eyes and found Zhou Zhang looking at him with a sneer. "You're such a coward, how dare you call yourself boss? Go back and change your pants," Zhou Zhang teased. "I don't want money or your hands today, but if you can't complete Brother Chen's project next time, I will chop off the roots of your descendants." Ha ha ha. The surrounding villagers laughed and looked at Lin Along, who was so scared that he peed his pants. Lin Along was so ashamed and angry that he wished he could find a hole in the ground and crawl into it. His psychology at the moment was extremely complicated, and he loved and hated Zhou Zhang at the same time. What I love is that Zhou Zhang didn't get rid of him because he knew he was useful. What's so hateful is that this man doesn't want money, but he still wants to embarrass him in public. Li Chen took another look at Zhou Zhang. Although this guy was still gangster, he had to admit that the changes were huge. Since she sincerely repented, although she still had some banditry, she felt a sense of belonging to everything in the village. Yukiwei said without waiting for Li Chen to speak, "Mr. Li, we will pay for everything we took at 10 times the market price. In addition, we will handle all our expenses here by ourselves. In addition, as for the compensation, we really can't afford it now." Yukiwei had an inexplicable fear of Li Chen. She had a psychological shadow after being slapped by Li Chen before. In addition, Li Chen was now completely impartial, and she was afraid that she would lose face. Hearing this, Li Chen stood up and said, "Compensation is a must. If you can't pay it, it's easy to deal with. When the time comes to settle, it will be deducted from the settled salary." Yukiwei and others looked ugly. "What? Any objection?" "No, no, no, we have no objection," the others waved their hands quickly. "It's been so long, I won't find fault with you. I still have a few more things to say today," Li Chen said coldly. "First, if something like this happens again, I promise that the coffin will be used to collect your bodies. If you don't believe me, you can try it." This group of people standing in the hot summer felt a chill on their backs. Second, the delayed construction period must be caught up with me, and the agreed time must not be delayed by a minute. Third, I don't have time to make trouble with you. If I catch you again, your company and your second half of life will be over. This is what I said. Fourth, you are not allowed to delay the workers' wages. I know that most of them are coerced. If I hear that you delay the wages of one person, you will be in trouble. Fifth, if I find that the project is shoddy and deliberately makes things difficult for me, believe me, you will be worse off than dead. I will hire someone to check it. I can afford this money." Yang Jiankan and others shuddered. "I hope you remember the above requirements and never let me find any handles again," Li Chen snorted coldly and turned away. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Country Life of a Rich Dad. Author, Wo Shihami Gua. Chapter 686. Li Chen left, but the people who stayed behind didn't dare to say anything. It wasn't until Li Chen was completely gone that the group of people couldn't help but sit on the ground and gasp for breath. "Let's all go, let's all go." The old man in the group waved his hand. As for whether this group of people will continue to do evil in the village, they don't know. But judging from the effect of Li Chen's shock just now, it seems to be quite good. Yang Jiankan only then realized that his back was already wet. And many of the people who were punished by Li Chen and lay on the ground before had fainted. Some people had burns on their chests. Yukiwei sighed and started to call an ambulance. These employees could only be considered work-related injuries, otherwise she would not be able to gather people's hearts in the future. She also needs to pay for the medical expenses of these people. And the things that were taken for free before must be repaid tenfold. After what happened just now, Yukiwei has already experienced the fear and powerlessness of the Gu family. A ruthless person like Gu Qingfen was forced to jump off the building and commit suicide, So what about herself and others? Soon, the villagers whose rights were infringed were compensated. The villagers were actually very friendly, and they would not be too fussy about anything. In the shed of Kunpeng Jianyi, everyone sat together. Yang Jiankan hesitated for a moment, but still took out his mobile phone and dialed again. "Brother, is everything settled?" Yang Jiangan asked seriously on the phone. "Yes." "Did Li Chen continue to make things difficult?" "No." Yang Jiangan breathed a sigh of relief and said, "You saved your life." "Brother, what happened?" Yang Jiankan was still full of doubts. "Just before you called, someone from the inspection department and an old man found me, a master." Yang Jiangan sighed and said, "The bad things you did before were recorded clearly by others. If you dare to do something to Li Chen today, our Kunpeng Jianyi will be finished." Yang Jiankan fell into silence immediately. People in the martial arts world began to intervene, and there were too many things involved. Kunpeng Jianyi is not the most powerful one. There are still a lot of Jianyi groups waiting to eat Li Chen's business. Once this old master speaks, the consequences for Kunpeng Jianyi will be terrible. It will definitely be swallowed up by these covetous construction groups. The market cake is so big. If you don't die, how can others grow bigger and stronger? What's more, he was still in control at that time. If he dared to make trouble in Jia village, Kunpeng Jianyi would be prepared for destruction and death. Yang Jiankan was sweating all over, and it was not until this moment that he suddenly woke up and was glad that he had saved his life. Lin Along and Yukiwei called and got similar results. The master's visit represents all the power and capital behind him. As long as they dare to mess around, they will be wiped out together. This is the real Li Chen. Thinking of this scene, everyone was scared. That is to say, they are still useful, otherwise, Li Chen can wipe them all out without even seeing them. Yang Jiankan and the others looked at each other, and all the little thoughts in their hearts were put away. They already understood their current situation very well. If they did things obediently, they would have a way to survive and make money. If they made trouble, they would die. Chengdu City. With the efforts of the Li Group and the Zhao Group, the whole Chengdu city was rejuvenated with new vitality. And the Snow Run cream was officially accepted by the public, and even began to become more popular than the previous Goose Perfect Traceless cream. A small shop. The shop was not big, but it was very clean, and the main business was cosmetics. Of course, at this moment, the small shop also had the supply of Snow Run cream that ordinary big shops could not get. Although the small shop was small, the business was very good. Many people lined up here to buy Snow Run cream. The person in charge of the shop was Wen Mantung. Since her divorce from Chu Xiang, she had completely changed like a different person. Although her temperament was gentle, she also had the intention of being self-reliant and self-reliant. With all the money invested, and with the help of her best friend Lai Wanyan, this store still has an advantage that others don't have. That is the source of goods. Wen Mantung also hired a waiter, mainly to help her share some pressure. "Excuse me, is Aunt Wen Mantung here?" Wen Mantung, who was busy entertaining guests, leaned forward slightly, with a gentle smile on her face and said, "Please wait, I'll be out soon." After a long time, Wen Mantung walked quickly to the door with crystal beads of sweat on her forehead. When she saw a handsome boy standing in front of the door, she was a little absent-minded. "Can I delay Aunt Wen for a while?" Li Donglong said with a smile. When Mantung came back to her senses, her face suddenly flushed, and she said, "Please come in." "Who is this? So handsome. Oh my God, how can there be such a handsome boy? I think he looks so familiar, but I can't remember where I've seen him." "Li Chen. Oh, by the way, isn't this Li Chen's eldest son? It is said that he is the prince of the Li Group." "How old is he?" "So cool." Many people recognized Li Donglong and admired his temperament and handsomeness. Wen Mantong led Li Donglong to the lounge and brought him a glass of water. But her eyes unconsciously fell on the handsome face that was very similar to Li Chen. Auntie Wen. Ah, Wen Mantong was a little distracted. My father and I are somewhat similar, Li Donglong said with a slight smile. Wen Mantong blushed and looked away. They are quite similar. I came here this time to discuss cooperation with Aunt Wen. Li Donglong put down the water glass and said. Cooperation. Wen Mantong's expression changed slightly. She didn't think her store had any advantages over others. Yes, Li Donglong said, if Aunt Wen is willing, this contract can be signed. From now on, our snow lotion and Xiaofeng tea can be supplied to you. Looking at the contract on the table, Wen Mantong's expression changed slightly. Is this what you meant or what your father meant? Mine, Li Donglong said extremely sincerely, my father doesn't know about this. Wen Mantong's face looked better now. She didn't want to be helped by Li Chen. Although she knew that she was able to achieve all this only because of the help of her good girlfriends, she didn't want to lose even the last bit of dignity. I didn't choose you because you are my father's classmate. From your handling style and the products you sell these days, I know that although you have a gentle temper, you are also ambitious. Li Donglong smiled and said, more besides, you are still friends with Auntie Lai Wanyan and Uncle Wang Yiming. The Li family is vigorously expanding new routes. It is also good for us, the Li family, to have you here. Wen Mantong looked at Li Donglong, who looked very much like Li Chen. Even though she knew he was very young, she still couldn't help but ask, are you, really only 9 years old? To be precise, I am 10 years old now. Li Donglong smiled and said, ability has nothing to do with age, right? Yes. Wen Mantong smiled bitterly, the contract, I signed it. It's a pleasure to cooperate. Li Donglong stood up and said, with the contract. That. Aunt Wen, is there anything else? Thank you, and, your dad. I'll pass it on. The Country Life of a Rich Dad. Author, Wo Shihami Gua. Chapter 687. The village, which was already in a state of half construction and half rest, returned to its original state of full construction after lunch. Whether it is a large construction company like Kunpeng Construction or a small construction team, they all feel an inexplicable pressure at this moment. Many people who don't actually know anything can also feel the pressure from the top. Although many people saw the incident at noon, there were also many people who did not. The village is so big, people from far away may not be able to know it immediately. Just like Yan Liangjun and Lao Xiao, they are the more diligent ones. After Li Chen gave him the construction task, he started working almost non-stop. The school was completed half a month ahead of schedule, and now all the houses in the village are being built very quickly. After learning that Li Chen was back, the two people who were sitting and resting suddenly began to curse. Aren't these bitches arrogant anymore? Lao Xiao took a sip and said, if you ask me, Boss Li is too kind. Isn't that right? We have seen all the virtues of those people from Jianyi Company during this period. A bricklayer scolded, they took money and did nothing, and they still showed off their power in the village. Boss Li just beat them up, too cheap for them. Yan Liangjun, who heard the whole story, smiled and waved his hand and said, they still have to pay more than 70 million yuan in compensation. Lao Xiao was stunned, his tooth hurt suddenly. More than 70 million, how much money did these bastards make? Yan Liangjun shook his head, looked at the workers and said, we are not the same as them, so we just have to do our own thing well. There are thousands of us, as long as we complete this project conscientiously, we can rest for half a year no problem. He, that's what Yan Touer said. Following Yan Touer, we brothers will feel at ease. Yes, I earn money with good conscience, and I feel comfortable. Yan Liangjun laughed and cursed, and said, go away, stop flattering me here, Go take a lunch break quickly, we have to work in the afternoon. Hey hey. A group of workers went to bed obediently. This big deal from Jiakan freed all of them from worries. As long as it is completed as scheduled, this year will be a good one. As for some embarrassing things caused by Jianyi group, he didn't bother to care about it or ask about it. Li Chen trusted them and let them take on such a big order. If they still messed up, they really should die to apologize. Tuan, Yuan, Li Nanfei was so happy that he occupied two cute little tigers by himself. Hangchi. A little black pig rushed over and bumped into Li Nanfei's butt. Li Nanfei rolled to the side with an ouch. Who is it? Li Nanfei became angry with embarrassment. I saw the second sister Li Zifeng holding the timid little wolf with a smile on her face. Xiaofei, this is your pet. Li Zifeng pointed to the very clean little wild boar. The little wild boar was also looking at Li Nanfei with wide eyes and chirping, as if to express his dissatisfaction. Li Nanfei looked at the little wild boar with disgust. Although he had been convinced before, when given the choice between a tiger and a wild boar, he still wanted the tiger. But Li Nanfei knew better that Tuan Yuan could still accept him when his eldest brother was not at home, but once his eldest brother came back, they might not like him anymore. He didn't want to raise a wild boar, as it didn't feel majestic enough. Even the second sister's little wolf looks much more majestic. Li Biwu held the small flower and placed it on his neck, followed by Daodu, the licking dog, looking lively. Sanguo, Zuzu is your boss. Li Biwu pointed at Xiaohei, its daddy is very powerful. As a person who personally experienced the incident at that time, although Li Biwu was relatively young, he also knew the power of the wild boar herd. The wild boar king definitely has the capital to challenge the tiger king alone. The bigger advantage is that wild boars appear in groups, while the tiger king mostly fights alone. Li Nanfei looked at Tuan Yuan, then at the little black pig, and wailed, "Why don't I have a choice?" "You don't have to," Li Zifeng sneered, "you have a choice, but you still dislike it. When eldest brother comes back tomorrow, I would like to see if eldest brother will give Yuan to you." Hearing what the second sister said, Li Nanfei suddenly became disappointed. Tuan Yuan doesn't stick to him very much now, and he won't even stick to him in the future. Can small animals really recognize people? Li Nanfei couldn't help but wonder, why did Tuan Yuan identify as the eldest brother instead of yourself? Xiao Ziahei, your master doesn't want you anymore, let's go play. Li Zifeng waved. Xiao Ziahei glanced at Li Nanfei with a disappointed look, and slowly followed Li Zifeng away. Maybe it didn't expect that it would be disliked. Li Biwu glanced at the second sister who was leaving, then at Li Nanfei who was still struggling, and stamped his feet bitterly, "Stupid Sanguo." She pouted angrily, knowing very well that Xiao Ziahei was actually very good, but she just didn't know how to say it. "I don't want to care about you." Li Biwu chased him out. She was young and couldn't understand why Sanguo didn't like Xiao Ziahei. Li Nanfei sat on the ground, watching his elder sister and younger sister leave, then looked at the two little tigers Tuan Yuan, and fell into deep thought. He just wanted to raise a more ferocious and cool pet, why can't he have the right to choose? Children don't understand other things. No matter how mature Li Nanfei is, he is just a child. His ideas are not so comprehensive, just based on preferences. It's not that he doesn't like Xiao Ziahei, but between better choices, he wants to choose the better one. Li Chen came back with people, and the matter was initially resolved, but he still needed to understand the major events that happened in the village during his absence. "Xiaofei, what's wrong with you?" Li Chen gestured to his third sister to sit in the living room in the house first. Murongxiu had just finished cleaning the house at this time. After seeing Li Zixin and others, she immediately went over to talk happily. Knowing that Li Chen was busy, Murongxiu went to make tea for everyone first, and asked her third sister Li Zixin and two sisters-in-law to have dinner together in the evening. Li Nanfei looked up at Li Chen and said, "Dad, Xiao Ziahe pushed me just now and seemed very angry. My second sister and Xiao Wu also think I did something wrong. Did I really do something wrong?" This is the first time that Li Chen has seen his youngest son look confused since he knew Li Nanfei for so long. Li Nanfei used to be cool and confident. He is smart and can always deal with various things with confidence. However, he couldn't figure out the matter of raising small animals. Li Chen and Li Nanfei sat side by side, and he would pay attention to any problem of the child. When a child thinks about right and wrong, it is actually the beginning of growing up. He doesn't want to perfunctorily, nor does he want to miss it. From your perspective, you are not wrong, but from your second sister and Xiao Wu's perspective, you are wrong. Li Chen shook his head to signal Li Nanfei not to speak. Everyone has a different perspective, so the understanding of thinking is different. Your second sister is speaking from the perspective of her sister and the whole family. The Tiger King chose your eldest brother, the Wolf King chose Xiao Feng, and the Wild Boar King chose you. This is all arranged. Of course, you cannot accept it, then it doesn't matter, but I know that you like the little tiger, right? Yeah, Li Nanfei nodded obediently. Then have you thought about it? Why did the Tiger King choose your eldest brother instead of you? Is it just that your eldest brother was there at the time, and you were not there? Li Chen asked with a smile. Li Nanfei was a little sad. He thought so. Son, you can't do things based on personal preferences and guesses. If you keep thinking like this, will you hate your eldest brother? Do you think it was your eldest brother who took away these two tigers? The Country Life of a Rich Dad. Author, Wo Shihami Gua. Chapter 688. Li Nanfei looked at his father in panic. He didn't know how to argue. Xiao Fei, you are a child, but you cannot be regarded as a complete child. Your psychology is more mature than ordinary people, and this father knows it. Li Chen put his arm around Li Nanfei's little shoulders. He was also a father for the first time. There are some things that cannot be explained in detail. Just like this matter, Dad is on your sister's side. Since your eldest brother has adopted two tiger cubs, the cubs are his. In addition, he must be worthy of the Tiger King, right? Li Nanfei was a little silent. Of course, what Dad said may not be right. Nothing in this world is absolute, and no one is right all the time. Li Chen rubbed the little guy's head and said, "If you are unwilling, then I will change it. The day is called the Wild Boar King and the Tiger King. I will let the Tiger King choose again to see if it chooses you or your big brother. But you have to be mentally prepared for this. If the Tiger King chooses your eldest brother, can you bear it? The Wild Boar King knows that you don't like his son, so it is very likely that the Wild Boar King will not give Xiao He to Xiao He. You raise it, you have to figure it out for yourself. There is another possibility, that is, the Tiger King chooses you, and your eldest brother has nothing. In this case, how should you make a decision?" Li Chen stood up, smiled at the confused Li Nanfei, and said no more. How can there be so much right and wrong in the world? The so-called right and wrong are nothing more than criticisms made by each of them from their own standpoints and what they consider to be the correct views. The truth that most people agree with is correct. But is this necessarily right? Li Chen didn't want to establish absolute father's authority. It was neither necessary nor willing. He also doesn't think that adults will necessarily be right. Can't kids be right? But Li Chen won't interfere too much. If there is a problem, just solve it. As for the worst outcome at that time, it is actually within his control. In this case, it's just a matter of trial and error. Perhaps, only after letting them experience it for themselves will they have a deep understanding of their parents' words. Li Chen doesn't want any gap between his children. In his opinion, Being able to become brothers in this life is the greatest blessing in the world. The probability of becoming an adult is quite low, let alone being brothers. The probability is even lower. Li Chen doesn't expect them to be rich or anything like that. As long as the four brothers and sisters are happy and love each other, that's enough. As long as he, the father, can stop the ups and downs outside. Looking at Li Chen's leaving figure, Li Nanfei lay next to group member Yuan Yuan. The two fleshy little tigers seemed to sense Li Nanfei's entangled emotions, and leaned slightly towards him, and then rubbed against him. Lounge. Li Chen was very fortunate that when he built the house, it was big enough. Otherwise, a big family like the Li family really wouldn't be able to sit down. Murong Shui has brought tea, and everyone has sat down. Before leaving, Li Chen shared almost all the general affairs in the village with these people. Now that something like this has happened, he really needs to understand the situation. Most of the foundation projects in the entire village were organized by the villagers themselves and then worked together with a professional team. Therefore, the impact is not very big. The second is the water conservancy project in the whole village. Because the projects are mainly local, so they are just fine. Although it has an impact, the impact is definitely not big. As for Huohe, although the impact is there, it is within the controllable range. Mainly the construction of the park, as well as the layout and construction of the entire village, etc., were extremely slow. This was the biggest trouble, and it was initially solved by Li Chen. The cultivation of vegetables, herbs, etc. in the village has not been left behind and is still being carried out in an intense and orderly manner. Finally, there is the tea garden that Li Shanfu is responsible for alone. At the beginning, Li Chen was just rising, so he bought a batch of surrounding tea leaves and focused on this time. After all the harvest is finished, it will take some time before the next tea picking. More importantly, Li Chen also wants these villagers to make more money. But unexpectedly, something seems to have happened now. There are some things that Li Chen considers more far-reaching, but these villagers may not. They often look at immediate interests. Li Shanfu sighed, because we only purchased this season, this batch, so now what they mean is that if we want to continue to buy it, we have to pay more, and we can only collect one season each time. Zhou Zhang, Li Zixin, Zhang Fan, and others sitting in the room all sounded a little annoyed. It's not that Li Chen doesn't have a tea garden at home, it's just that the tea garden is far less large than those in those villages. It's really speechless for these people to play such a low price game now. What's more, Li Chen's purchase price is higher than the market price, hoping to take advantage of this opportunity to help them. But they seemed not satisfied yet, and even wanted to open their mouths. The current situation is that Zhuangtao village and Wanglong village are determined not to provide us with tea unless we increase the price, Li Shanfu said. Li Chen nodded and asked calmly, what else? Li Shanfu hesitated for a moment and continued, in addition, the village chiefs of their two villages are planning to unite with the rest of the villages to ask for a price increase. Zhou Zhang whispered, I have heard about this matter. In the past 2 days, it is said that a foreign businessman came and offered them a higher price to purchase the tea garden. If we don't increase the price, then this tea garden will not be provided to us in the future. No one expected the popularity of Xiaofeng tea. What many people did not expect was that Xiaofeng tea was actually mountain tea. However, only Li Shanfu and others knew that although this mountain tea was outstanding, it was not yet popular throughout the country. The real amazing thing was the culture solution that Li Chen took out. Using these diluted culture solutions to irrigate the cultivated tea leaves, that is Xiaofeng tea. As for the mountain tea itself, no matter how much it is promoted, it is just mountain tea. But the problem now is that there are more and more orders for Xiaofeng tea, but there is almost no inventory. Once threatened by these villages, the gap in Xiaofeng tea will be even bigger. This is a very troublesome thing. Even if we go to buy other tea gardens now, it is too troublesome. Li Feichen and Li Chengwang had never seen such villagers before, and they were simply speechless. But the people in Jia village were really scum in comparison. Li Chen had good intentions, but he didn't expect these people to be so short-sighted, and even obsessed with money. Okay, let's not worry about the tea leaves for now. I want to see who is behind it. Li Chen said, from now on, all projects must be accelerated. When my little dragon comes back tomorrow, he may also participate in the design. In addition, I will look for the best seeds and try to make all these things open to marriage. When the wedding dress shooting is done, it will also be held in this village. The flower sea and other things should be accelerated. Don't be afraid of wasting money. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Country Life of a Rich Dad. Author, Wo Shihami Gua. Chapter 689. Shuangtao Village. This is the village next door to the village next door, which is not too far from Ljia village, but in the past, it was better developed than Ljia village. When Ljia village did not have cars going to the town, Shuangtao village had already been open to traffic. Shuangtao village has a good terrain. There are two most famous species in the village, one is peach and the other is tea garden. Although peaches have always been the most famous, the sales of tea from the tea garden have always been good. Therefore, the development of Shuangta village was the best among the surrounding villages before. But with the development of Ljia village, the village next to Ljia village has also developed rapidly. In a short period of time, they have achieved the effect of taking off with Ljia village. At this time, in the village committee of Shuangtao village, in addition to the village cotters and village representatives of Shuangtao village, the village chief, village cotters, and village representatives of their neighboring village have also come. Meng Xiangsan, the village chief of Shuangtao village, coughed, and these people who were whispering slowly quieted down. Meng Xiangsan stood up and looked at the room full of people and said, I believe everyone has seen how popular Xiaofeng tea is now in the world. Everyone in the room immediately showed various complicated expressions. And what is the raw material of Xiaofeng tea? Everyone knows it well, right? Meng Xiangsan snorted coldly, the surname Li is really a piece of shit. Bah, he only knows how to make money, but never thinks about us. That's right, he obviously made so much money, but in the end he only gave us so little. In my opinion, we should work alone. Why does he make so much money, but we only make so little? Meng Xiangsan looked at the many people who were complaining and showed a satisfied smile. I invited you all here today for no other reason than to ask you, do you want to continue to be the victim, or do you want to find another way out? Meng Xiangsan looked around and asked, everyone here has a tea garden. Although the Li family did give us some money, compared to what he earned, it can be said that it is not much, right? Everyone nodded, but some did not speak. The most visitors came from Wanglong village, but people from other villages also came. Li Chen's family background is good, and he has become the chairman of the Li group. This kind of person does not want to benefit the village, but also wants to harm us ordinary people. How can this be justified? Now on the internet, he is praised by everyone, but now, they all think that Li Chen is too hypocritical. Using their tea, he turned around and sold it at such a high price, but only gave them a little profit. No one is happy. I called you all here today mainly to tell you something. Seeing that the atmosphere was almost set, Meng Xiangsan began to speak seriously. Tomorrow, a big boss will come to our side to inspect the situation. If he is satisfied with our tea, he will offer a higher price than Li Chen to buy our tea. Really? That's good, we can make more money. However, Li Chen has decided to buy this batch of ours after all. Now we still have a lot of undelivered goods. What if Li Chen doesn't agree? The crowd was very excited. Seeing that Ljia village had become rich, and now construction had begun. The construction was flying. On the contrary, their two best villages, Shuangtao village and Wanglong village, were compared down. How could they feel good about this? Meng Xiongsan said, "Have you forgotten that when they sold our tea, it was just a verbal promise? If we really regret it, what can they do? Besides, Li Chen is so black-hearted and stingy. We have helped him make enough money. This is enough to be worthy of him. Why should we continue to suffer losses? Village Chief Meng is right. We can't let that kid Li Chen continue to bully us. If he is unwilling to increase the price for us, then we will sell it to others. That's right, our mountain tea is a magical tea. Can Li Chen do without our tea? He makes money for himself, but doesn't let us drink the soup, so we won't cooperate." A group of villagers nodded excitedly. But the few people sitting in the corner were silent. They all frowned and looked at Meng Xiongsan. They knew better than anyone what the quality of the tea gardens in the major villages was like. In addition, the people from Jia village would drive everyone away before they came every time. After that, the tea trees grew very well, which must be due to the use of very rare cultivation drugs. Otherwise, why didn't the tea in their villages become popular? Why did it become popular after Li Chen took over? But unfortunately, this group of people seemed to think that their tea was awesome. Those who wanted to speak up also shut up silently. The group of people in front of them had already got into the money hole and couldn't get out. Tomorrow, after this big boss comes, he will inspect our village. Everyone, the opportunity is in front of us. Whether our villages can get rid of poverty and become rich depends on this time. Meng Xiongsan's speech was still very moving. Murongxiu took Yan Zhenkai and Hu Mian's hands and said, "Then come over in the evening, Li Chen, and I will wait for you." "Okay," the two sisters-in-law smiled and nodded. The big star's sister-in-law has no heirs at all, which is what Yan Zhenkai and Hu Mian like the most. The third sister Li Zixin took the third brother-in-law Zhang Fan to deal with things. The things in the village took up too much time, and I'm afraid I'll have to process it a little more next time. After Murong Shui sent these people away, she immediately went to find her grandfather Li Chuanlong. Although the idea of cooking was unanimously rejected by the three little ones in the family, she still wanted to learn from scratch. It is also very necessary to recognize vegetables. Some vegetables look completely different on drawings and in reality. Processing vegetables is sometimes not easy. Seeing Murong Shui so down to earth, Li Chuanlong was in a good mood and took his granddaughter-in-law to the vegetable garden to pick vegetables. "Grandpa, Xiao is coming too. Wear a hat." "Okay." Li Biwu wore her own exclusive hat and held a limited edition bubble gun, and jumped to the vegetable garden. Daodu behind her bit the vegetable basket in her mouth and followed the little master step by step. Li Chen is back, and these relatives have helped him for so long, and it is reasonable to thank them. Li Chen stood up and sent Li Peng, Li Jianhua, Li Shanfu, and others away, pinching his eyebrows. Then he turned on the video projector and clicked on the group video screen. "I haven't paid attention to them for so long, I don't know if they exploded. Li Chen, where have you been?" You fought with Goose, such an exciting thing, you didn't call me. Where is the culture medium? The inventory is in a hurry, I'm almost dying of anxiety, you should reply to my message. Brother Chen, when will your things be delivered?" As soon as Li Chen opened the video, he saw Pan Sichen, Yuan Chenjian, Ye Yonggan and other guys began to complain and spit. Sorry, I've been dealing with Goose recently, and I'm a little exhausted. I just returned to the village, Li Chen said with a smile, let's talk about the needs step by step, we can deal with it in the afternoon. The Country Life of a Rich Dad. Author, Wo Shihami Gua. Chapter 690. They are still quite concerned about Li Chen's affairs. Putting aside the interests between each other, their friendship is also worthy of their concern. Pan Sichen spoke first, Brother Chen, now our Pan's wine industry's drunken concubine wine can almost cover all the markets. In a month at most, it will occupy all the major markets in the country. At this point, Pan Sichin paused slightly and said, however, the crazy market expansion and market capture during this period have made our Pan family a little overwhelmed. Although drunken concubine wine is so popular, it also requires money to seize the market and continue to take a large market share. With the gradual expansion of the market, the Pan family has begun to spend more than it earns. You know, it is not so easy to take over the major regions in the country. Even though the Pan family has made rapid progress during this period, and various cooperations are close. But the influence of the Pan family is far from reaching the level of top enterprises. Just like Li Chen's Li Group, it has a certain influence in Rongcheng and even Jiangnan Road, but it is not enough to look at the whole country. Li Chen has a lot of wealth, and he should be on the rich list. However, the Li Group has only grown bigger and stronger in the hands of Li Chen and Li Donglong. When Li Hoxian took over the Li Group, he only pushed it to its peak at that time. After the Pan family has laid out the national liquor market, the next step is to be quiet and polish. There are still many problems facing the Pan family. First of all, there is the problem of raw materials. Wheat, potatoes, and grains are the best raw materials for brewing wine and are in short supply. Although Li Chen helped the Pan family solve the big problem before, wheat has been consumed very quickly during this period. If the supply cannot keep up, it will really collapse quickly. Secondly, even if it is to buy grain crops, the Pan family is now somewhat dwarfed. The basic plate is too large, so large that it is already overloaded for the current Pan family. This is a problem to be solved. Finally, there is not enough vitality water. These 3 points, lack of any one is fatal. But because Li Chen encountered the biggest crisis in his life some time ago, they were a little too busy to bother Li Chen. It was only after they saw Li Chen solve the problem that they dared to contact him. Hearing Pan Sichin's complaints, the other few people also knew that the Pan family was now the one with the closest contact with Li Chen. It can be said that the Pan family and Li Chen are in the same boat, and they are not yet. Li Chen looked at the data sent by Pan Sichin and said, "Okay, I know, there shouldn't be much raw materials now, right? I arranged people to collect them before, and a special department will be set up recently. I will solve this matter." Okay, Pan Sichin did not ask anything else. Since Li Chen said that it can be solved, it must be solved. His trust in Li Chen has almost reached the extreme. How much gap does the Pan family still need now? It still needs at least 30 billion, Pan Sichin said with his face covered. Such a huge Pan family, it can be said that the Pan family, which has both Ziwife wine and high-end red wine, is still in debt. Li Chen couldn't help but be amazed. No one else would dare to believe that this was true. But it is actually true. The Pan family is expanding too fast now, and all the savings accumulated before have almost been completely used up. Li Chen said, "Then I will transfer some money to you first, but the amount is huge, so it may need to be credited in batches." Okay, Pan Sichin was moved to tears, and this money was considered borrowed by the Pan family. There is no way, the Pan family can only expand madly in order to meet Li Chen's requirements. There are naturally disadvantages to advantages. If Li Chen does not have extra money, then the Pan family can only go the bank loan route. As for the culture medium, I will send someone to send it to you later, Li Chen said. As for how much I can send, I am not sure now. Okay, Pan Sichin's dark circle seemed to fade a lot, it was really too tormenting these days. Li Chen finally had time to deal with their affairs, how could he not be excited? Me, yeah, Yongin immediately shouted, with dark circles heavier than Pan Sichin's. At least Pan Sichin has family members to help him at home, but Yongin's old father just gave up. Seeing that Yonggin was doing well, the old man put Ye Yongan in the position of chairman of the Ye family without saying a word. At first, Ye Yongan thought that his father was going to be the emperor. Who knew that his father actually took his mother to travel and relax? He was really bold. He was not afraid that he would destroy the Ye family. Although Ye Yongan did have many loopholes in the early stage of taking over, he gradually adapted and stabilized. In addition, after the Ye family experienced a rebellion, the approval and control of the inside and outside were extremely strict. Ye Yongan's control over the Ye family group has really reached its peak. The Ye family's fragrant pigs have become a hot commodity in the market. However, Ye Yongan is already controlling the number of slaughters. Because he wants to implement the closed loop of the entire industrial chain of the Ye family's fragrant pigs. From the cultivation of breeding pigs to the birth of piglets, etc., the second is the cultivation of food and pastures. Of course, this is a long process, and it may take a long time to complete the layout. Now the Ye family has barely reached a balance of payments, but sometimes the expenses are more than the income. What the Ye family lacks now is grass, feed, and some crops to feed the fragrant pigs. These are the fundamentals, followed by vitality water. Your Ye family can have more pastures. The crops in major rural areas are very nutritious. Pigs can grow well only if they eat all kinds of grass. Ye Yongan was stunned because he subconsciously felt that feeds were the best. I'm just making a suggestion. You can give it a try. The taste of pork fed with feed is still very different from that of ordinary omnivorous pigs, Li Chen said with a smile. As for the rest, I will send it to you later. Ye Yongan nodded excitedly. The Ye family's consumption was very high, second only to the Yuan family. Yuan Chenjiun was very calm. As one of the three people, he had a good relationship with Li Chen. In addition, there was a huge contrast between his own qualities and Ye Yongan's out-of-touch personality. Naturally, he would not make any fuss. Our current vegetables have only occupied about 1/3 of the market. We plan to take our time with the rest. The main reason is that they are spreading too fast and we can't keep up, Yuan Chenjiun said. Now the Zheng family has they no longer have the energy to compete with us, and their market has shrunk extremely. In addition, we have launched 3 grades of vegetables: ordinary, intermediate, and high-grade vegetables. Although there are many competitors, the core competition advantage is great, and we will not launch special and top-grade vegetables in a short time. The only thing missing now is your culture fluid. Li Chen didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Okay, I'll make preparations now, but you two are far apart, so you will definitely have to wait. Yuan Chenjiun nodded and said, after waiting for so long, there are only a day or 2 left. Have you finished handling the matter over there? Do you need our help?